Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Around Payless. Today we are at Ace Hardware at 127th and Ridgeland Avenue, and the owner, Dan, thank you for allowing us to come in here and talk to you.
Welcome back, Ron, as always.
What we wanted to cover is Christmas lights and wiring and et cetera, et cetera. Dan, there is so many questions I'm sure the viewers have about incandescent lights versus LED lights. What's the difference? What's the advantage or disadvantage, if there is anything? And what's the life expectancy? Can you kind of give us an overview on that? If we need to, we could walk wherever you want. And I notice you have some trees here, artificial trees. They're all pre-lit, it looks like. And what I'm going to do is just turn it over to you and let you roll with it.
Okay, I'll give you the 20-second version of the differences and the new things that are appearing this year and have been coming for the last few years in the lighting category for Christmas. The big thing, as you mentioned, is LED or the traditional incandescent type of lighting. The big, huge advantage is the power savings. LED lighting gives you much of the same capacity or output of light, but uses far, far, far less power. So from the standpoint of power usage, you're going to see a tremendously reduced amount of power that you'd use at Christmas time when you're putting lights outside. LED lighting, the quality has improved vastly in the last 4 or 5 years as it's matured and become more of the dominant way that people are lighting. The colors are much more brilliant. You can hook. We were talking a little bit before we started here about the hookup of that, and we'll show you as we walk over to the sets. But you can hook up multiple sets together end to end without any issues as far as blowing fuses, overloading those. It saves a lot of time when you're outside. If you're lining the house with it, it used to be you'd have 1 or 2 sets, and then you'd have to put a cord out. 1 or 2 sets, you'd have to put another a power cord supplying those. Now you can hook multiple sets end to end, have 1 cord at the end of the house, and have the whole house covered.
So I noticed one of the features of LED that you showed me earlier, 22 sets that could be connected to each other is what was mentioned on the box. It's unbelievable. So that means no extension cords.
It saves a ton of time. It saves a ton of extra power cords that you need. It saves a lot of running cords across driveways, doorsteps, sidewalks. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of one of the things that, and then also too, as LED, heat is really what destroys a lot of these sets traditionally, the incandescent, because these things run so cool. The wire, these are thinner wires that you're typically using, so the thinner wires don't get as hot, they don't get as brittle, so they tend to last considerably longer. That's a big plus on it. We don't see anywhere near the failure rate on the LED versus the typical incandescent.
I like the idea of the bulbs that we were looking at a little bit earlier. They've been on for quite a while. They are not hot. So if you have a child that's walking up to, a small child walking up to the tree and grab a bulb to just touch it and maybe want to play with the lights, they're not going to burn themselves like you did with the traditional incandescent. Those babies were really hot.
Well, on top of being hot and potentially being a problem accidentally, they also, when they put them on a live tree, that tree dries out during the season, they become a fire hazard. And I mean, I know I always see at the firehouses, to water your trees and stuff. Well, that's because the traditional type of light bulbs got hot. They had the potential for starting the tree on fire. Now with the LED, any one of these things, you can grab them with your bare hand and not feel any heat whatsoever.
Right, it's cool.
It's always cool, and that's where the energy savings. Heat is energy. So basically, by reducing the amount of heat that you're producing, you're also reducing the amount of energy. I will say that one of the things we've really, really seen a big push for with the LED is the brilliance in the colors. If you notice, the colors are really bright greens, bright reds. They're real sharp colors. And that's really the kind of the real telltale of the LED lighting systems.
It's come a long way.
It's come light years ahead of where we used to be. So, we still carry the traditional lights. If you have those types of lights, we still carry them. And I would say probably 3 to 4 years ago, it was 75% traditional, 25% LED in the way of sales. Now it's completely flip-flopped.
Flip.
Almost everybody has moved to the LED side.
Yeah,
of things.
and they see the advantage of that, that's for sure. And most of all, power consumption.
It's big difference. I noticed it even on my own house last year, putting the LEDs out and putting them through the Christmas season. It used to be you'd get a pretty good bump on your ComEd bill when it would come. No longer is that the case.
Yeah.
It's barely noticeable. It's
Right.
that little usage. As well as the LED when they first came out, and I know a lot of people probably remember that, is when they first came out, the color was more of that blue, not traditional yellow.
Blue tint.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
a lot of people didn't like that. It
Yeah.
was kind of a cold-looking color. Now they've changed it. The coloring, they've been able to adjust the coloring to more of the traditional-looking light, so you can, put them out there. It looks very traditional in the way that you're lighting.
Well, even though you would put a bulb in a lamp on a end table, let's say, and in the past you put an LED and it would really be bright and it was obvious this is not the normal traditional warm white. Well, now you can buy the warm white or you can get the bright
Cool
sunlight, cool white, and if that's what you want. So yes, the options are there.
Yes, and I mean, this is not only true in just Christmas lighting. This is true in regular indoor household lighting.
all lighting.
The switch has taken place,
Yeah.
and there's a federal mandate in place that requires there has to be so much energy savings taking place. The only way to achieve that is really through LED lighting.
Yeah, exactly.
The technology has just moved forward in a big way in the last couple of years. So that's really, I mean, it's evident in the Christmas lighting, but it's also evident in the light bulbs that you buy for your house. We are actually having a lot of conversations with our employees because every person that comes in with an old light bulb now has to be retrained as to what that means and what the new version of that is. They're more expensive, but they're going to last you 5-10 years on some
Yeah,
of these light bulbs
right.
versus 2 years because, for instance, in your garage light outside, those lights, if you ever open up the cap, you'll notice they're hot. Well, why does the light bulb burn out a lot? Because it's hot.
The heat.
The heat
Yeah.
is destroying the bulb. So
Yeah.
just like this, the heat isn't there. Same thing in the indoor.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll let you take us wherever you want to go now.
Okay, so let's walk over. We'll just kind of give a quick walkthrough of what's available on the Christmas lighting.
Okay. Okay, we moved to a new location. Dan, I'm going to let you take it. We're in the aisle of light bulbs and specifically LEDs. And let's talk about the advantage of these particular LED. These are string lights, net lights, and whatever. I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, so with the lighting, as I said, LED is the new buzzword. And the lighting is available in a lot of different types of strings. So you've got, because the capacity is much longer strings, you have many of them that will run like 37, 38 feet in one string, which was traditionally not the way you could do it before. So as I mentioned before, the coloring is the issue. Like these here will say warm white. They're a warmer color. We actually put them on display so that people can see the coloring here. And when you come into the store, you'll see that we have them so you can kind of get a pretty good idea what the coloring will look like. We mentioned before some of the newer types of lights. The old traditional C7 size is now what they call C6, but it's very similar in size. They've got some multifaceted caps on there which give them a much higher brilliance of the coloring and the lighting. There's also a little bit larger sizes that would be traditional to the C9. A lot of people used to use those on their houses. So you've got kind of a lot of different choices. Like I said before, the coloring is really the nice feature that you get with LED that you traditionally have not gotten. And then also too the capacity to put multi-sets. I was pointing this out as we were talking before we started here. This particular set of lights, it is 37 feet long, but you can connect up to 30 sets. So
Wow.
that's
Wow.
that's basically hook up with one cord and plug in.
And I
almost.
noticed also for storage. Now, this is a ring that when you're closing up from the holiday, you can just wind this up, seal it with a piece of tape at the end, and that's it. This is what you're talking about, storing. What a great idea this is, to have this little ring to tie the strings into. This is unbelievable, the thought process that went into it. It's worth, and I know it's cost a little bit more, but it's worth all of the things that you just mentioned, the length and the lesser power consumption, and now for the storage. Why would you want to go any other way?
Every one of these reasons are compelling to move in that direction. And I know a lot of people still have the older style, so we still are going to continue to carry those for a period of time. But I mean, if you're thinking about making some changes, traditionally this is the time of the year that you're going to get the best deal on the LED. I would change the coloring, the brilliancy of the coloring, getting them out there. I think you've got a lot of reasons to kind of begin to move in the LED direction. We still carry them, and that's really kind of the one thing that I want to make sure people know is we still carry them in the smaller lengths of lights as well, so that if you don't have a need to go 37 feet, you only want to put it on a small tree, a tabletop tree, or a railing inside the house, you can still buy them in smaller packs. And again, 24 and a half feet if you want. We can get them down to 50 light sets, so they're down to about 10 or 12 feet. So you do have that capacity, but you also have the capacity to run multiple sets together as well. They come in a lot of different ways, the green cords, solid color greens, solid color reds, multicolors. You're really kind of stepping into a lot of different choices. I think the choices have become almost, in my opinion, too much. There's so many choices right now. We get people confused with so much offering that we
Well, the inventory is large. As you see, the shelves are full. In about 3 weeks, these shelves are going to be partially empty. I know how this is going to go. This is just starting. So if you're looking for lights, you have to get in here, and you're interested in LEDs, get in this aisle and start buying.
The next 2 weeks are the real season for lighting. If you get a day where it's warm outside, at least get them out, get them up, get them out.
Yeah, ready to plug in.
Yeah, there's a lot of different options too with clips for hooking them up to your gutters. Those have improved gutters or shingles on the side of the house so that they're not as difficult to put up as they were in years past. I think, if you kind of haven't done it in a while, a good time to take a look back again and kind of say, maybe I can do it this year, maybe I can do it a little bit easier. The net lighting that you talked about,
Yep.
LED is available in net lighting. It allows you to decorate pretty quickly outside, and especially in colder temperatures, you can get done in an hour. You'd be done with all your decorating, your outdoor decorating.
What I'd like to do, if it's all right with you, just touch on what you have as far as the traditional lights, the strings, and the old style.
Sure, yeah.
So we'll shut down and we're going to move to the other side of the aisle. Okay, we're back and we moved to on the other side of the aisle, and I'm going to let Dan talk about the traditional lights, the old strings and the bulbs and the whatever is left anymore today. And I guess, as you had mentioned earlier, the need for this and the interest of these old lights are starting to drop very rapidly and going to going to the LED. But for those people who really want to stay with this, share with them what is here.
Well, I think what you'll probably find is most of these lights will match up if you have the older style incandescent light still. As I mentioned, it is kind of a dying type of technology. Things are moving to the LED side, but many people still have multiple sets that are still good, and they're just trying to put them all together, or they just want to last another couple of years. So you're still going to be able to get the traditional type of lighting. So that hasn't gone away 100% yet, but it is being reduced significantly. There still are the net lights that are available. There still are the full colors. There's still the white light. So it's pretty well a full selection, but we've kind of emphasized much more in the LED side of things. As I mentioned, one of the things that the failure rate of these is much greater. A lot of times it has to do with people over attaching the number of sets together.
Overloading.
Whereas we're encouraging you to do it with the LED, we're discouraging you to do it with the.
I understand.
Because each one of those lines has a little fuse in it. So if you do overload it, you're going to run the potential of overloading that fuse. The fuse blows, or you'll get a bulb failure. If a bulb failure takes place, the string will, maybe half the string will light, half of it won't. That's the traditional trouble spots for most of these. I was kind of talking a little bit, if you're still kind of holding on to this technology, and say for instance you have a pre-lit tree with the traditional, there is a tool that's come out a few years ago, and it works probably about 75% of the failure issues that people have. It's a tool that actually allows you to repair some of those lines of light so that the whole line will come back on again. It takes a couple steps, and you have to be somewhat meticulous in the way that you do it. But if you do it the right way, many cases you're able to repair those light sets and make them work, and then you find out where the bad spot is. It allows you to identify it, it allows you to fix it, and the light set to come back on. So it's a way to kind of continue to if you've got, I'd see it mostly people using these for lights they've already put up. They find out after they get them up, half is out, or they find out that they have a traditional pre-lit tree with the traditional lights on them.
Right.
This allows you to kind of maybe
Troubleshoot.
it and resolve your problems. So
Right. Well, that's a great idea, actually.
it's a really
And if it were me and I had that problem, I would be in your store buying another set.
well. I think my thought is always it depends on how much do you have? Do you have more time or do you have more money?
And patience.
And patience. I personally don't have a lot of time to spend repairing them, so and the prices have come down so far down on these things, it's hardly worth your time to fix them anymore.
Yeah,
So
right.
that's, if there's some compelling reason, it's on a tree, it's on a railing, you've got to decorate it, then there's a reason.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You don't want to remove everything just to change the string and get a new string up. Anything else that we want to go through that you have in the store that you want to mention about lighting?
I think, maybe we'll just talk about a little bit of the outdoor decor, some of the decor
Okay.
stuff.
Okay.
Some of the things we'll walk through that. A lot of that is LED related,
Okay.
so we'll maybe take a walk over there.
Okay, stay with us. We're going to move to another location. All right, we're at another location in the store, and we're going to talk about outdoor lighting. And boy, has that come a long way. Looking at your display here, it's unbelievable. I can't believe this is what's happening in the marketplace anymore, but I'll let you take it.
Well, this is like the pure LED talk again.
Yeah,
This type of window lighting and outdoor lighting has really almost all changed over to LED for a lot of reasons. Energy, again, being one of them, but also reliability is the other issue. Most of this stuff is a tubular LED, which has become really the way that most of the outdoor decorations have gone. The reliability is the big issue. Again, you got stuff that is you can multi-plug things together. It gives you the capacity. They're much brighter. As you can see, most of the coloring is very brilliant looking coloring on there. So they've improved the coloring. They've improved the reliability again. You got a lot of options. I even, some of the things that have LED in them are very bright looking. So it allows you to maybe do, if you're not into a huge amount of outdoor decoration, you can do some smaller amounts and still have a nice looking display in your yard. So that's kind of the big outdoor decorating.
I have to get a box that you have back here. I'm going to scoot back here and bring
I
it
knew you were
out.
going to go after that.
I want you to take a look at this. This is pretty cool. Pretty cool.
So that basically is outdoor lighting, LED lights that are on a traditional looking Santa cap that you can line along your sidewalks. So it gives you a little bit different look to your Christmas. Every year we come up with we go to a buying show in the beginning, usually in January, February, just after Christmas. This year we'll go, and it allows us some of the new things that are out there being put out into the marketplace. That happened to be one of them this past year.
This is really, really nice. Okay, we are going to move on to some other things that Dan has in the store, and we will be right back. Okay, we are now in the location where you purchased your tree, your live tree, and you need a stand for it. And I'm looking at the Tree Genie. I'm going to let you take it from there. That is really a unique thing to have.
So it's December 5th, 6th. You bought your tree down at the Lions sale over by the old Palos Bank property. You come back over here looking for a tree stand. Your stands are older. There still are the traditional type of stands, which many people are familiar with from years ago.
I sure remember laying on the floor and turning those little...
Trying to get those four little bolts.
Perfectly, and have my wife telling me, it's leaning.
Left, right.
Right,
Pull back.
exactly. And then after you set it up, you find out that the bark is so soft, it starts leaning over again
As
anyway.
it dries out.
As it dries out.
So, those are still available, and they do work, but they do require a little bit more emphasis. There are some newer styles. This style here is a little bit more stable. Still has the traditional 4-bolt type of structure on it, but it is a lot more structurally stable. It keeps the tree from falling over. It will handle a larger trunk, which
Oh yeah.
in
I
this
see
area, a lot of people tend to buy the bigger trees that have the bigger bases on them. So this will handle some of those types of things. It will hold quite a bit of water capacity in it. Made in the USA kind of technology. But I think what I'd like to probably share the most is something, people say, oh, what's changed? This is the type of stand that I think is probably the big thing right now.
And how does it work, Dan?
So this technology, it's a German-owned company. What they did is they took the traditional tree stands and they applied a wire, a stainless steel wire around the perimeter edges. And if you notice, there's a little pedal here, a foot pedal or hand pedal that you can crank down on. And what happens is if you put the tree trunk into the center of it and you press on that, it actually ratchets the whole, all 5 points or 6 points on there evenly across there. So it pulls it in very tightly, holds, because of the cabling type of system, it holds it in very stable type of condition. It really makes a huge difference in the amount of tree. It's definitely a more premium level of stand, but quite frankly, I think you'll find your tree will look probably the best it's ever looked. It'll look straight immediately coming out of there. It will probably keep the tree from falling over at one point in time if you ever experienced that.
And it holds water in there as well, I see. 2.5 gallons?
2.5 gallons of water. It has a little, and I'm not sure if you can see it, but maybe when we afterwards we'll kind of take a close-up shot, but it has a little gauge on here. So it actually, that little white gauge floats up and down depending on the water level. So when it starts to run down on water so that you don't run out of water and cause the tree to dry out, it lets you know that beforehand. So those are all really kind of neat features on it. It comes in a couple of different sizes. This happens to accommodate the bigger size trees, the bigger trunks. There's also one for a little bit smaller tree for around the house. I mean, I would also encourage anybody, if you are buying live trees, this makes a huge difference. The preserve in the water, it helps.
Keep the needles from falling.
Yeah, so in January, you're not carrying the tree out and leaving the needles all over the house.
Or you're carrying the branches.
Exactly, exactly.
Well, I'm glad you brought that. I saw this on your display, and I was going to bring that up, but that is really important because what you would do is I'm sure you mix that with water, you pour it into this container. 2.5 gallons probably will last you the season, and or if not, you have the indicator that tells you it's running dry.
One thing I didn't mention here, but I'll kind of cover it at the end. This is actually a good idea. It's a little tray, seems pretty simple. It's just a tray that the stand sits on, flat on top of here.
Okay.
So carpet, wood floors, you can put your tree on there, your stand on there. If you're putting water on it, or
Protects
if anything
it.
does happen to leak, it's not going to ruin your floors. It'll save a lot
that's
of
a great idea.
problems later in the season. So those are kind of things that you might want to think about as you're beginning to look at buying a tree or a live tree. Those
I'm
are,
afraid my grandkids would use that for a sled, snow
well, it
sled.
could be.
It could be.
January.
Okay. Well, Dan, thank you again for allowing us to come in here.
It's always
and
my
you
pleasure.
You share with us all these lighting things that you have, lighting for the trees in various places in your house and railings and so on. Telling us the difference between incandescent and LED means a lot. Hopefully we have answered some of the viewers' questions, but if not, come into the store and I'll guarantee you'll have someone walking up to you when you walk in the door. The staff will help walk you through what your situation is and guide you to the proper product you need. If it's not lighting, whatever, if it's plumbing, it seems like I walk in the door, I tell them the problem, they give me the fix. So
There are no stupid questions in this store.
Exactly.
Questions are welcome. That's
Right.
what we're here for. That's what we like to serve the community. We can help from the simplest, in most cases, to the more complicated questions. We're happy to do it when you come in.
Okay. Well, again, we are at Ace Hardware, 127th and Ridgeland. Come over and talk to Dan and his staff, and they'll be glad to help you out. We will see you soon again with another episode around Palos.